Okay, so what about WeChat? Now my WeChat will retweet after it's been sent. Okay, can we start now? Is everyone here? Yeah, we're looking for the okay. So now this is the final tuition before the RMO first round, maybe. Right. So today we just finished the offline Q&A. So for my student, maybe about 10 to 20 students enter our center to ask some questions. So I feel, right, so most of the questions are worth asking, but some questions maybe we just should, for the last day, we should enhance the basics more often because some of the questions are very basic. So today, the topic will be like in four things. So one is that, as I have mentioned, so we should run through all the high probability testing point and which is we must know in these questions. And second is how we arrange our 1 hour time in the actual RMO first round. And the thirdly is that RMO are all filled with MCQs. So for MCQ instead of SAQ, right? So we have special skills to get the answer. So sometimes we don't need to calculate, we don't need to solute, we don't need actual solution for a question. Or sometimes we don't even need to know how to do this question, but we can get a correct answer. Some special skills for MCQs. And finally, some hint for us to overtake our limitation. Okay, now, yeah, the time is short. For the RMO first round, we give brief introduction. So the total time is 1 hour, and we have, yeah, sorry, I'm misprinted. It's 20 MCQs. Yeah, it's 20 MCQs. I will do the written. So 20 MCQs. So the 20 MCQs including 10 4-point questions, 10 6-point questions. So normally the 6-point is more difficult than the 4-point, but there are exceptions. So each year there will be at least one 4-point question that is more difficult than the normal 6-point question. And there is also at least one 6-point question that is as easy as a 4-point question. And that 6-point question always lies at question 18, 19, or 20 at this place. So you can treat it as something. So RMO just give a word to those who can achieve the final questions. So many of the students maybe just stuck at the first 10 or first 15, and they fail to even look at the last 3 questions. So normally in the last 3 questions, there'll always be one question that is Very easy, very easy. Okay, so be sure to look at all the questions before you start to do anything. And the estimation high distinction line is that for open, which is the P6, we have over 65 is the estimation. That today is the Chinese Dragon's year, so children's are better than usual, actually. So estimated to be 65 or above. And for junior group, which is P4 and P5, so the score may be 55 or above to reach the high distinction. Maybe lower, maybe lower. I believe so. Last year, I have a student to get how many questions? So only 10 questions correct, but it's also a high distinction. So in junior, right? So maybe, yeah, maybe should be less than 55, but 55 is something that you can assure you, right? So the average point for each question is a 5. So actually, so for this one, you need to get the 13 question correct and 11 question correct for junior. So this is what we should do. Okay, this is the brief introduction. And we'll start at Tuesday, right? So Tuesday afternoon. So it's 2 to 3:30. So the school announced the time to be 2 to 3:30, but I don't know, it's 2 to 3 or 2:30 to 3:30. So they will give you some time to maybe to arrange and to enter the computer room and to be familiar with the devices, right? So, and the actual testing time is only 1 hour. Okay, now this is this year's RMO. And so the first thing, and maybe the most important thing, we should go through all the must-know key points. So the question I mentioned today, question type I mentioned today, is something that you must master because this question will obviously occur in this year's RMO. The first, about calculations. The first question type is about a mass digit calculation. By calling this mass digit, so it's about maybe see this 2021 digit, a 2023 digit, right? So maybe this year is 2024 digit. So how to calculate a mass digit number? So normally it's based on 9. So it's always come with several 9s. Because several 9s, so maybe 2024, so can be written as 1 and several zeros minus 1. So if you want to calculate the mass digit number, so it's always relying on this 9s and the 10s because no matter how many zeros are there, right? If we times the 10 to the power of something, right? We can easily calculate by adding some zeros. So all the math digit calculation, remember the magic 9, right? Based on 9, you can solve everything. Then, yeah, secondly, is the fraction splitting terms. So mainly it's about the splitting the difference. So the basic is that a times b, a minus b equal to 1 over b minus 1 over 8, right? So this is the basic thing. So we should know for easy questions, the 4-point question, it will just give you the classic form, 1 times 2, 2 times 3, n times n plus 1. But in 6-point question, you will see that they may change the form of the denominator, right? It's 1, 1 to 2, 1 to 2 to 3, right? We can use the Gaussian sum for it, right? So sometimes we can use the Gaussian sum. Or sometimes we can change it into a, square difference. So something like 2 squared minus 1, 3 squared minus 1 is 1 times 3, 2 times 4, right? So yeah, this is something that may occur. So they like, right? They like to change form of the denominator, yeah, to make you, then to make you not able to realize this is fraction splitting terms. Okay, this is a calculation. Fraction splitting term is a very important thing. So I don't run through any of the question today. Okay, so the time is limited. So I believe you should all be capable to solve all the questions on the screen. So if you are not, meaning that you are not prepared, we are prepared for the RMO. Anyway, so to get all the past 5-year question quite well is something you must do, right? So it's not should be work today. Okay, and then the third one about the calculation is the geometric sequence. So for geometric sequence, so in Friday, one of my students asked me that, so for geometric sequence, do we need to remember maybe the formula of the sum? I feel it's not. So for geometry sequence, actually, so the RMO test is further than the sum to calculate the sum. So you need to understand the logic to get the formula of the sum. The logic for solving all the geometric sequence is called the multiple and find the difference. So first, if a sequence has one part of it, geometry sequence, 5, 5, 5, 5, 5, right? So we use the whole formula to times the common ratio, the common quotient. Then we find the difference. Yeah, using this multiple and difference, we can get what we need. Also, sometimes, like last year, right? So this is not a typical geometric sequence, but it hide the geometric sequence inside a pattern of a sequence. So actually, in this sequence, the sum of each row is something like times 3, then minus 3, times 3, then minus 3. So if we find this pattern, which is easy to find and easy to prove. So yeah, actually it only asks the row 9. So you can calculate it step by step, step by step. But it will be a little bit complicated, right? A little bit complicated. But instead, if you use the geometry sequence, so actually we get the recursion is am equal to 3 am minus 1 minus 3. So actually, we can make it into this thing like, so what should the pattern be? Let me see. So k, 3k. So 2k is 2k equal to 3. So it's something like this. Right, so we can turn this into this way. Yeah, actually, we can turn this into a typical geometric sequence way. And then we can try to get the value of this one. But anyway, you can calculate step by step. It's okay, right? This is the geometric sequence. Okay, it's all about calculations. So we must know that calculation, each year there will be 3 or 4 questions about the calculation. And I expect you to get full score on calculation because it's easy. And you see the question, you will know how to do it. Or maybe you're not capable of doing it. So it's very simple. It's very simple. It's either correct or not answered, right? Unlike maybe something like counting or geometry, you may spend a lot of time on it, but still you don't know how to solve it. For calculation, it's not. So I expect you to get full mark in the calculations. And the calculation, please don't hesitate to choose E. So each year in calculation, there are at least one E question. So you choose none of above. So when you calculate the answer is not in the choices. Don't hesitate to choose E. So if you feel you are right, so just choose E, then we'll be okay. Okay? Then, now this about calculations. Then, second part, number theory. The number theory, the first thing is the divisibility of multi-digit numbers. So yeah, something, I just choose the recent year question. So the 55 or 999, right? So just as long as you know the characteristic rule of certain numbers, you will know how to do it. So sometimes you are facing a large composite number. So maybe we just make it into, for example, 55, make it into 5 times 11, but it already satisfies 5, so only the 11, right? For 999, it's just just break down by 3 digits, and then find is, so 99 is a sum, right? It's the sum of every 3 digits. So you should be very familiar with the divisibility rule. That's it. Secondly, the remainder calculation. Yeah, I have to say that in recent years, the remainder calculation reduced. But actually, so you would see that in 2018, so there are 3 questions about remainder calculation. In 2021, there are 4 questions about remainder and the remainder calculation. So in recent year, 2022 and 2023, so the number reduced. But still, this is very important. So sometimes they want us to calculate the remainder, so more often the exponent. the powers, or it's often tested in the 2026 to 2020. In 2016 to 2018 is about the factorials. And also, right, some normal numbers, the multi-digit numbers. So how to calculate the remainder, how to find the pattern of the exponent, which is very important. In the early years, there is also another question which is quite often is about the last two digits. So about the last two digits of some number. So actually last two digit is something is the remainder by 100, right? Remainder by 100. And so here comes another thing is that if you want to calculate remainder of 100, so we always use the Chinese remainder theorem to help us. The Chinese remainder theorem is that for remainder by 100, we just calculate into 4 times 25. So normally we calculate remainder by 4 and remainder by 25 respectively. And then, we can putting them together to find. So closer, if you want to find the remainder by 99, we can calculate the remainder of 9 and 11 respectively. And then to find the number that satisfies both, this is the answer. The Chinese remainder theorem application is very important in the RMO questions. So this is about remainder. About the patterns, right? So I remember some patterns. Maybe I will tell you some conclusion based on a Fermat-Euler theorem. The last two digits thing, the pattern of every last two digit questions, if it's about exponent, it's always the 20. It's always the 20. You don't need to know where this 20 comes from. This is from Fermat-Euler theorem, but remember this 20 will be useful. Then about number theory, the third part is the factor analysis. The number of factors, sum of factors, and the limited condition about factors. So more often is the factor analysis. The number of factors. So the 2022 questions is about number of odd and even factors. And the 2021 is also about the number of factors. So number of factors is very important. You should know how to calculate number of factors. So how to calculate limited number of factors, right? What's the relationship between number of factors and the prime factorization? That should be very familiar with. Factor analysis. So sometimes there will be LCM, HCF stuff. Sometimes there will be some smallest factor, largest factor stuff. But more often it's number of factors that matters. And one of the last thing about the number theory is they very likely use the arithmetic sequence sum to make some number theory problems. So actually, for example, the last year 2023 questions is something like, you want to form a thing like 40 days and 40 points for n students equal to the k times 1 plus 2 to n. So we get an equation like this. And then we use the Gaussian sum, we cancel the n, and we get the 40k and n to get what we need. So now this is the last year's question. And also for the 2018, a very famous question. So how many ways to split one number into the sum of some consecutive numbers? Also something that if one number can be separated into maybe 5 or 7 or 77 consecutive numbers, so what's the characteristic of the original number? So this is something that you use the Gaussian sum to write the sum of consecutive numbers, then compare it with the prime factorization of the original number. You get the answer. Right. And also a very important conclusion of that. So method to separate one number into consecutive numbers equal to the number of odd factor minus 1. Right. So I prove it already in our book B run through. So I believe all of you should master this. So use the arithmetic sum to get some number theory problem, very often tested. So I predict there will be a similar question today. No, not today, this year. Now this is about the number theories. There are word problems. The first thing is the PSLE stuff, right? So it's the ratio, percentage, fractions. I don't want to talk about it. So you should have mastered all of this in your PSLE. So there will be at least 2 questions each year. So these are what? So these are the gifted score. you all must get the full mark of this question. So if you fail, you may fail your PSLE as well. I mean, so. And you notice that in the 2022, the ratio problem is even in the question 20. This one is a very easy PSLE one, but it's put into question 20. So remember what I said. So the last three questions, there will always be some question that is relatively easy. So don't skip the last questions. Please look at every questions first. Okay. And then it's the inclusion and exclusion. So two types of questions. One is that is in the counting part, right? In the counting part, there's something that with the inclusion and exclusion. So you should use it to get the correct answer. For example, we count the perfect square, we count the cube, then we should minus theta both because it's crossover, right? At the same time, it's about the extremum values in the inclusion and exclusion. So for this type of question, you always find the relationship between the two. So one is the total value, total number, and then second is the total time. So just, build the relation between these two, and you will easily get it correct. So for all the extreme value problems in inclusion and exclusion. Okay, this is about word problems. Then, the proportion journey, journey problem. So we will see that in RMO, the journey problem is always take concern of the proportion. The proportion means that, so if the distance is constant, then the speed to time is in an inverse proportion. And if the speed is constant, then the time width and the time and distance is in the direct proportion. And if the time is constant and the speed and distance, they are in the direct proportion, right? So now the 2022 questions is that, so the distance is constant, right? The distance is constant is all the whole circle or half the circle. So the meeting time and the chasing time, right? They are in an inverse ratio. So the sum of speed and the difference of speed is 8:1, okay? And the 2023 questions, you will see that here is a speed ratio here, speed ratio 1.5 times 3:2. So now the distance ratio is also 3:2 when they meet each other, right? So now it's all about the proportions. And sometimes there's multiple encounters. So the first encounter, second encounter, we just compare the sum of distance, right? The sum of distance maybe have a 2:1 or 3:1 ratio, and so is the time, so is the distance each of them traveled. Okay, so the journey problem is also about the proportions. And to determine a proportion, we should find the constant value. What is the constant value of this question? Is it distance or constant time or constant speed? To find the constant value, to build the proportion, build the ratio relationship, it will be easy for you to get the answer. Okay, it's about journey. So each year there will be only one question about the journey, and each year these questions are about maybe different subject, actually different topic. So be sure you're familiar with all type of journey problem. Don't need to stick into so difficult questions because the difficulty of a proportion journey is not that high. But you should know how to do certain type of questions. Sometimes pick up about proportions, special questions, the pick up, right? The escalator problem. Yeah, sometimes like, so maybe what's it called? So maybe there one on the street and meet the bus, the regulated bus each 7 minutes or 6 minutes, something like that, right? Van and bus problems. So actually, for journey problems, just to do as many types of questions as you could, but don't worry about it because it won't be so easy. It won't be so difficult. Okay, and notice that the proportion is very important in solving the journey problem. Okay, now that's about word problem. Yeah, and then the last one, the most important thing is about indeterminate equation. So each year there will be one question that about indeterminate equation. Two question type. First type is just want you to solve an indeterminate equation to find the solution whole number solution to it, or count how many whole number solutions are there, right? So for example, this one is something like 1.4x, 1.8y, 2.4z, and 3w equal to 12. You find the whole number solution for x, y, z, and w. So sometimes, yeah, we should use some skills to try for the answer because the number is so many numbers. So first time we need to know that we make it into a whole number term, and then we notice that this 3 and as well as the last is multiple 3. So this one x must be multiple 3 as well, right? So we can simplify the form and to get the answer we need. Okay. Now the first thing is that we let us to solve it to get the solutions for them. And then for the second type of questions is all the same type of question. It's about an indeterminate equation. So ax plus by equal to c. So for this type of questions, so how many c's that cannot be achieved, right? So how many c's cannot be achieved? Or what is the largest value of c that cannot be achieved, right? So something like that. So for example, the 2023 question is like that. So we have 10 3-mark questions, 4-mark question, and 6-mark questions. That 6-mark is equal to the 3 marks. So this is something, this is just a question just like asking for 3x plus 4y equal to c. So how many values for c that we cannot achieve, right? So I believe there is a very important conclusion we should remember. So for this ax plus by equal to c, so firstly is that, So firstly, if a and b are coprime, so it's a minus 1, b minus 1 over 2 values unable to get. And then secondly, the largest value they cannot be get is a minus 1, b minus 1 is the largest among. So recent years, this type of question has very, very often, right? Very, very often. 2021 is something that a robot, right, moving 21 steps or 22 steps forward. So what is the largest point he cannot reach, right? And 2023 is that, so for 3x plus 4y equal to c, so how many different values it cannot be reached, right? So now this conclusion, you should remember quite well. I emphasize it many times in our short-term course, in our preparation course, right? So remember it. It's very important. And then we move to geometry, right? The angle calculation, yeah, the angle calculation, unlike SMARTs, right? So it's SMARTs like to calculate the angles between several triangles, use triangles to transform the angle, use polygons to transform the angle, right? For RMO, maybe not, right? Maybe just the interior and exterior angles and also the parallel lines. So we should know that in a parallel lines, in two parallel lines and the slash here, so at least we should know these these 4 angles, they are all equal, right? Use this to transform the angles. Also, sometimes, right, so this is look like to be a circle, but it's actually an angle calculation because for the sectors, we just need to know all the sum of all angles we can get what we need, right? This is a question the RMO like to ask. So making the angle calculation with the circles, yeah, but actually, you accidentally calculate the angle, it's okay, right? Okay, angle calculation, which is so in most in small in RMO, so each test we have this, so maybe skip it. Never mind. Okay, and then about triangles. So for RMO, it's very popular to test the similarity model. So even more popular than the basic triangle ratio models, some kite, swallowtail, same height, right? So because each year there will be a similarity model, but not each year we have a ratio model. So actually, for similarity, we just remember the based on the parallel lines, right? So the pyramid model and the hourglass model, right? The ratio of each segment, they are equal. Yeah. And this is where we solve it, right? So if as long as you see the parallel lines in a triangle, just don't hesitate to use the similarity model. Okay. And then the circular sectors, so you see that before last year, right? So in recent few years, they only test a very easy question about circles. So like the 2022. So as long as you know the formula of circles, you know how to calculate area of circle, you know how to do the question. But yeah, last year there are some questions about something like rolling problem, which is a little bit complicated, but yeah, it's quite easy. The most difficult question is something. So I don't know if you have recalled. So I know, yeah, I quote that question in our booklet B. So it's something like this figure. So do you remember that? Right. So something like, yeah, like this. So calculate this shaded region. Right. So we should plus and minus several typical shapes to get the answer. Right. But in recent years, because it's an online test, so in online test, they reduce the difficulty of geometry questions to make it more convenient. So because, yeah, you cannot just draw a standard picture by yourself. You don't have the time. So they reduce the difficulty of the geometry questions, which is lucky for you, I believe. Okay. And then, so, yeah, maybe, yeah, I should enter the chat box. So I cannot see any chat now. I don't know why. So, yeah, it's okay. Yeah, okay. And then about counting, the last part, the counting, right? So counting here, so we have the plate insertion method, which is very important. So do you know how to use the plate insertion method? Is that, so if you want to distribute identical thing into distinct boxes, we always use the plate insertion method, right? So the basic question, like the 2090 questions, it's just, right, three numbers have a sum of 13. We just do the plate insertion directly. But this time we should remove some of the unsatisfied thing. For example, so the number can be the same, but we should remove something like the 1, 1, 11, right? We just should remove the 1, 1, 11s. Okay. And then for last year's question, the 2023 questions, right, is two-step of plate insertion. So we should use plate insertion to distribute both the apple and oranges, and then we times them together, right? So the plate insertion, we run through it quite a lot in our both the LTC and the short-term course. So I believe you all know how to do it. So we skip that. And secondly, yeah, it's the number-related counting. The number-related counting is that, so something we count the numbers, so related to the, maybe to the number theory quite often. For example, 2022 questions, right? We want to make three numbers, the sum of them being a multiple of 3. So I have mentioned several times, if you see sum of something equal to a multiple, we will take a remainder. So for this one, we classify the number by the remainders, and then we judge how many methods are there. Okay. And sometimes it's just the counting some multi-digit numbers. For example, the 2021 questions, right? We want to count a multi-digit number. This is also number-related counting. So each year there will be 2 or 3 questions about counting, and one of it must be plate insertion, one of them must be the number-related counting. And the third type, sometimes it's just the permutation and combination. Sometimes it's about the recursion. Yeah, the recursion counting. The recursive counting is relatively difficult, I have to say. So you fail on recursion, I feel it's okay. I feel it's okay. Though we have a whole class to talk about the recursion, but never mind. Recursion is always difficult. So because you should first notice this is a recursion problem. Secondly, you should know the rule of recursion. And thirdly, you can be able to solve the problem, right? The recursion is a difficult question. Okay. And the last chapter should be the combinatoric, but I don't put any combinatoric question here because the combinatoric questions varies each year, and they are not the must knows because it's difficult. And most of students would fail on the combinatoric. So I expect maybe you see the combinatoric. If you can know how to do it at the first sight, you do it. If you don't know at first sight, you just skip it. You'll be okay because it's difficult for everyone. Okay, we spend half hour, right? We spend half an hour to finish all the master know knowledge. Okay. Yeah, this is for students. And yeah, if you want to do the review this evening or tomorrow, right, you still have 2 days. So please be sure that you can master all the problem throughout at least this slide, right? So it's very important. So these are the questions I predict that they will always occur in each year's paper. So there must be something like that in this year's paper. So master all the knowledge point I mentioned here. Okay. Then we move to the second chapter, which is, so how to arrange your time for the RMO. So RMO time is very short. We only have 60 minutes, right? So how to arrange 60 minutes to get as many questions as we need. So yeah, we have to 4 rounds of mock test, right? For my own student, even more. My student, we did 6 rounds of mock test. So for this mock test, maybe you will feel that the time is short, right? Time is limited. Many students complain that they are not able to finish all the questions on time, or they can even just get through all the questions. So a good strategy for time arrangement is very important. As I mentioned, the last 3 questions, there will always be a question that is relatively easy, right? So don't skip on that. So my strategy for the RMO, the suggestion would be like, so we cut the time into 4 periods. So the first 2 minutes, don't do any question. So please spend your 2 minutes to read all the questions. Read it one by one from question 1 to question 20. And then you can mark all the capable questions. So because as you see a question, you will know, right? This question I can do, this question I cannot do. At first sight, I know how to do it. At first sight, I don't know how to do it, right? You can classify the question in 2 types. The first sight, I know how to do. First sight, I don't know how to do. Okay? Then, yeah, if you have the ability to achieve, maybe not achieve, so if you have ability to challenge for the high distinction, right, you should be able to, at first sight, you will find at least 12 questions that you are capable of. So now, the second period, the first 30 minutes, please use this first 30 minutes to finish the 12 questions you are able to do at the first sight. So now you will see that this is something that above the average, right? So in average, we have 3 minutes for each question. But for this 12 question, I only give you 30 minutes because if you look at the question, the first side, you know how to do it. You won't take so long to make it. Okay? So the first 30 minutes is to finish the 12 questions. These 12 questions, including the time of the double check, actually. So because for some questions, especially for the calculation and word problem, you see, for calculation and word problem, it's always better to double check right after you do it instead of solving all the questions then come back. Okay, so for calculation and word problem, so check it directly after you finish it. So it won't take you so long, maybe just 20 seconds or half a minute, right? So for first 30 minutes, why the 12 questions? Because as I mentioned before, if you get all the 12 questions correct, if you can get all the 12 questions correct, it just equally means the ticket or high distinction. Actually, I mean correct. So I don't want to tell me, so yeah, teacher, I finished the 12 questions, but I only get 4 of them correct. That's nonsense, right? That's nonsense. Okay, so if you get 12 questions correct, you will already get a ticket for the high distinction. So now this is your task for the first 30 minutes. And then for the coming 20 minutes, in this 20 minutes, please don't only do 4 questions among the remaining 8, which means you can just directly give up, skip at most 4 questions. So maybe at first sight, you just choose 4 questions that you feel you are not able to do it. So you choose the 4 questions that at first sight you know you cannot do it, or you will struggle on it, right? Skip 4 questions and focus on the 4 questions that is closer to you, right? It's more likely that you can solve it. So now for these questions, they are a little bit more difficult, right? So you can have 5 minutes on each question. So, and then last 10 minutes, you can do the double check your workings. Or if you are still struggling on certain questions, maybe you can give you additional 5 minutes to struggle on one question. However, so in the last 5 minutes, the 55 minutes, and so maybe stop doing new questions to double check all your answers. Because, right, so if you have already struggled on a question for 5 minutes, it means that you will have a very low probability to get it in another 5 minutes, right? So it's in the test field, which means the time efficiency is very important. So my experience is that if I cannot solve a question in 1 minute, by solving, I don't mean the calculating the final answer. The calculation may be complicated, but if I don't know how to solve it in the first 1 minute, I won't be able to do it in the first 5 minutes. Yeah, I believe for me, it's like this. For you, maybe not. For you, maybe not. Okay, but yeah, my suggestion is that if you stick on one question for 1 minute or longer, and you still don't know, you don't have any clue of it, skip it, okay? So now this is my time arrangement strategy, right? So now if you follow my strategy here, yeah, if you follow this strategy here, so it will ensure you that first, you won't just miss the easy question in the last race. Secondly, you will have a reasonable time for the easy questions, and you won't stick too many times on difficult. You won't waste so many times on one difficult question, and you cannot get the answer, right? Okay, but this is only my suggestion. So if you have a better way, you can follow your own way. But yeah, this type of strategy for my students work on both the NEMOs and the IMSO actually. So I think it's good. I think it's a good method. So it's the mainly is half and half. But in the first half time, you can finish 80% of the question. But in the second half of time, you only finish 20% of question. The logic is because easy question takes you less time, and difficult question take you more time. And the reasonable arrangement will help you to don't waste so many time to get as many score as you can. Okay. And at the third part might be the student's favorite. So if you are in my STC, right? So in this week STC, we have done a very special mock test. So I give you very difficult questions, but in this question, you will see that there is always some tricks for you to get the answer. Yeah, this is what I want to say is that special skills for MCQs. So sometimes for the MCQ questions, you don't even need to know how to do the question. You can get the answer directly. You don't struggle from the very complicated calculation. You can get the answer. How to do it? Mainly, I have 4 strategies I have as examples for you, right? So now, remember, these skills are for the difficult questions you are not able to solve. If you know how to do this question, you don't need this skill, right? So don't use the skill too often if you know how to do it. Okay, so now, the first is that sometimes, right, we know the RMO choices, they are set randomly, mainly random. So they just choose a correct answer and 3 random wrong answers around it, which means sometimes we can use the number to find the only reasonable one. For example, right, so we have this circle questions. It gives us the pi equal to 22/7. So what does pi do with? We should know that if pi is a 22/7. So the area is pi times something, right? Some squares or something like that. So then this is 22/7. So we can cancel this 7, right? Maybe we can cancel this 7 on the denominator. But for the numerator, we have 22. 22 is a multiple of 11. So this area must be a multiple of 11, right? So because it's 22 times something, so this must be a multiple of 11. And if you know this, check the answers A, B, C, D. Which one is a multiple of 11? Only C is a multiple of 11. So we choose C. We don't need to calculate it because the answer must be a multiple of 11. Only C is a multiple of 11. Choose C, right? So someone asks, can it be E? Yeah, of course it can. So yeah, if you know how to do it, just calculate it. I just mean that if you don't know how to do it, but you know the answer must be multiple of 11, right? Just choose the only multiple of 11. It's the best way. Right with it. Okay? Now, yeah, this is something about multiple of 11 stuff. Secondly, right, sometimes find the only reasonable one. So secondly, also, right, in this Friday and Sunday, we have a mock test, special mock test. It's about a very complicated figure countings. But in that figure, it's in a square. Square is symmetric in 4 directions. So the number of triangle must be a multiple of 4. and the choices, no choices are multiple choice, you just choose E, right? Some skills. So to choose the most reasonable answer, only reasonable answer actually, right? And secondly, in some cases, especially for the difficult questions, combinatoric or number theory, so we can get the choice back to the question to check. So this is the longest question ever, maybe the question 20, last question of the 2021, which is very difficult if you want to do it directly. But actually, so it gives us example. So it says that, so if there's n students standing in a circle, and if we give the candy for every 4, every 6, every 7, every 8, or every 9 students, so there will always be some student who won't be able to get the candy. So the question is, what's the minimum value of the total number? It's not that easy to prove the answer or to get the answer, but as it's MCQ, you can just try it one by one. So for example, can it be 21? Can it be 42? It's asking for the minimum, right? So you just try the answer from the smallest to largest. First, you try 21, and you will find that 21, yeah, if you, for 21 student, if you get it, if you use every A student, you can get everyone candy. So 21 does not satisfy. Then you try 42, and 42 just satisfy suits your need. So you just choose B. The answer is B. Of course, it can be E. So in this case, we ignore the E situation, right? This one is difficult, but as this is MCQ, you can try each number and you can get the answer. Okay, the second strategy to get the choice back to the question. And third question is that you should find the relationship of numbers between the questions. So now this is the angle calculation. We know owning this is a 46 degree, and we want to know the angle of ECD. If you are trying doing this, is complicated questions, you should use the parallel lines, you should use these associated triangles, and you should maybe assume some angle to be X, but not solving it. You should use many skills. But if you don't know how to do it, never mind. You can find the relationship of numbers. So the answer must have some relationship with this 46, right? So how to build the relationship? For this number, maybe you cannot find it. But if this number are very close to what? Very close to 180, right? So maybe we just find the difference of this number of the 180. So if you use 180 minus them, the difference is 23, 22, 19, and 18. So tell me, after you calculate the difference of the choices with 180, do you know which one to be choice? Which is the right choice? Yeah, type it. So type your choice directly. Don't do it. Just use the choice to get the correct answer. Good. Yeah, obviously it must be A. Must be A because, right, we have a 23 here. 23 is half of the 46. So any better choice than A? No, right? So we should say, yeah, the answer is A. The answer is A. You know, yeah. Sometimes you should find the relationship of numbers between the choice and the conditions. See, very fast. I don't need to do anything. I can just directly get to the right answer. Okay. Okay, then sometimes, right? So the fourth question is that, so here is something that, so a 4 times 4 times 4 cube is made from identical small cubes. And then, so we painted some of the faces. And so the small cubes that painted red is 37. So how many faces are painted? So this question is not that easy to construct the actual answer, but you can do the estimation because we know, right? So we know each face, right? Each face we have 4 times 4, we have 16, right? On each face we have 16 cubes, small cubes. So if you want to reach the 37, so at least we should color 3 cubes, right? So 3 faces. So the answer is obviously, so either 3 or 4, right? So you can choose 3 or 4, and 3 is closer, maybe just directly choose C, then we'll be okay. Because each face is 16, 2 face is 32, right? So then if you want to close to 37, so it's maybe it's just 3, right? Just 3. So because, right? So 3 is closer. 3 is closer. So you should estimate the answer will be okay. So estimation is something very important into getting an answer. But yeah, finally, I have to mention again, this is for the questions that you don't know how to do, or you don't have time to do. For example, there are only 2 minutes left, but you have still 1 question to go, right? So now use the skills for you to get an answer that is with maybe 70% to being correct, which is very high, right? Which is very high. So this is some skills for you to answer the MCQs. And I only tell you about this in the last minutes because I don't want you to rely on these tricks. They're only tricks, they are not knowledge. So if you want to get actually a higher score, so do all the questions, do all the basic questions, this is more important. Okay. And finally, is some small suggestions for you, right, to help you overcome your own limitations to get a 100% in the real test. So how to do it? So first is that, so we know RMO have 20 questions, 100 scores. So to make us more comfortable in solving the questions, feel less pressure, so maybe we can set a serious goal for each period. So for example, now firstly, we just to help to ask us to, we should gain the first 40 score, which is relatively easy. So we just choose the questions that are adding up to a 40 score. So first we reach the 40 scores. And then we choose 2 other questions to do to reach the 50 scores. Because as long as you reach the 50 score, it will tell you, it's enough for me. So at least I have a distinction. It's very good for me. So then with no pressure, you can challenge for the next 2 questions to reach the 60 score. As long as you not finished, right? So maybe you seem to solve all the 60-point questions, then it's free for you to go. You will feel free to challenge all the other questions, right? Because you have already solved many of the problems. You have already solved enough problems. And as long as you get it all correct, you are a high distinction. So now it's set a serious goal for period. It's very important. And secondly, is we should always keep the difficulties. Because in RMO, I have mentioned before, in 4-point questions, there are always 1 question that is very difficult. In the 6-point question, they are often not that easy, right? Especially for the number series, some number theory, some combinatory, right? So if you see some question, you feel very difficult, skip it. So my standard is for 1 minute. So if a question here, you spend on it 1 minute and still you don't know how to do it, skip it. Just skip it, okay? So maybe you want to give yourself 2 minutes. 2 minutes is so long because average you only have 3 minutes. So maybe 1.5, at most 1.5. Or maybe just 30 minutes. 30 seconds, sorry. Maybe just 30 seconds. Okay. And thirdly is that you should double check your work, especially for these 3 topics: word problem, counting, and calculation. Word problem, because it's very easy to double check. For counting, it's very easy to make mistakes. And for calculation, it's something like a word problem. It's very easy to check and easy to answer. So be sure to double check these 3 subjects. For number theory, geometry, don't mind, because for number theory and geometry, as long as you are capable of solving it, it's almost correct. So it's something that between correct or not answered. So there is no wrong category, actually, in my opinion. Okay, then the 4th is that don't hesitate on E. Don't hesitate on E. Because, right, in each of the choice, so each year, we have average 4 questions with the answer E, actually. So if you get the answer and you don't find it in ABCDs, maybe you are correct. You can double check it again. But if you double check it, there's no mistake, then we just choose the E. It's okay. Each year there will be 4 E's, around 4 E's, 3 or 4 E's, right? So don't hesitate on the E's. And then, maybe that's the end for all the suggestions. Okay, finally, there is a preview that, so we will have our RMO first round in the next Tuesday, right? So just directly after the afternoon, right? Directly after the afternoon. So in the evening, 6:30 p.m. So I will have a run through for the real questions for the RMO first round. So maybe, yeah, just maybe. So maybe by that time I won't get all of the questions, but however, so if you remember some of the questions, please, after you finish test, to share it in our group, okay? And the many questions you get, the more I can run through in the seminar, and I can help you get the answer in the first time. Also, right, so you can ask your school teachers, because school teachers will be able to get the whole questions. So especially for GEP school. So I believe in all the GEP school will collect the papers. So if your teacher have a copy version of it, so please send it to me, and I will make the solutions at the first time. So so I assure you, so for the RM modification questions, if you give me the whole paper, I will get the whole solution in less than half an hour. So if you get the whole questions, please send to me. Okay. Now, that's all for today. The last time tuition for RMO. So hope you can all get well grade in the coming Tuesday. Okay. Now, if you have any questions, you can ask, and I will open the YouTube channel. So for now, I will open the YouTube channel to see the any questions here? I will wait till 8 o'clock. It's better to leave it blank or guess the answer if there's not enough time for the skills. So my suggestion is that if we have I mean, if you need to guess from 5, don't guess, leave it blank. But if you can guess from 2, so it's either A or B, then you guess. Okay, so it's about expectation. So you can use my MCQ choice skills. Skill is very useful. 我们到时候会给草稿纸吗？会的，学校都会发的。Don't hesitate to use the MCQ skills if you are desperate. I mean, as long as we are desperate. In what order should I do the questions? So the order, maybe, you look at all the 20 questions first, and you quickly mark the question you are capable of. And then you just do what you think you can do at first sight. And after that, you can try those you feel difficult. That's the order. 6.4 first or 4 point first. I believe it's all okay. I believe it's all okay. I suggest 4 point first, because so actually, if you want to reach the high distinction, so actually is 8, 4 point, and 5, 6 point. You would see that this is what? This is 62, right? This is 62. And if you leave some blank, it's enough for you to get a high distinction. So I suggest 4 point first, because you should get most of the 4 point correct. And 4 point is easier, relatively easy. By any chance, would you have the specific answer for all the questions for RMO? By what you mean? So in Tuesday, of course, right? So in Tuesday, after you finish all of it, yeah. So as long as we get the paper, yeah, I will tell you all the answers. So for Mac, what do I try to do the 4-point question first or do the 6-point question? It depends on yourself. So I suggest you to do the 4-point question first because it's easy and you should get most of it correct. If I used MCQ tricks and got 2 answers, what should I choose? Randomly. Randomly. I don't know. So maybe, maybe you look at the last letter of the question. Look last letter of the question, and you depend on it. Yeah. So because if you are start using tricks, right? If you start using tricks, which means you're desperate, right? So if you're desperate, you don't care what you choose. Just choose the most likely one, right? Okay. So for the indefinite equation x by c, what about ax plus by plus cz equal to d? This is very complicated. So there is no such a conclusion about it because three numbers, we cannot use the complete residue set to define it. And in RMO, we only care about the 2 variables thing, is that ax plus by equal to c. Only this. Okay. So we don't have such a theorem about a 3 variable 1 equation. So don't struggle on this question. Yeah. If eventually you meet this, so actually you list all the numbers, it may be possible. But you should notice that in the RMO, right? So I have shown a question about like this one. Yeah, you see. So this one, it seems like 3 variables. We have 3-point questions, 4-point questions, and 6-point questions. But actually, the 6-point questions can be treated, it's exactly the same as the 3-point questions. So we just make 1 6-point into what? Into 2 3-point, then we'll be okay, right? So it's a fake 3 variable. Actually, there are only 2 variables of it. Okay. Yeah, right? So something like that. Shuffle. Perfect shuffle. So the perfect shuffle, the logic is that you want to learn perfect shuffle now. The perfect shuffle is that for 54 card, right? So we just put the first half and second half aside and make it into 28, 1, 29, 2, 33, and 40, 54, 54, 27, right? So this is called the perfect shuffle. So actually the period, the pattern for the perfect shuffle of it's always 20. It's always 20. So if you do the perfect shuffle for 20 times, it will be back to normal. The reason is that for any card, right? So for any card, so for example, the A1, the first position is the A1, and the second time it will be A2. So yeah, sorry. So it's something like A1 and A2. So A2 will be always have the same remainder divided by 55 with 2 times of A1, which means after do the n time of shuffling, So an should have the same remainder as q to the power of n times a1. Yeah. Meanwhile, we will know that 2 to the power of 20 have a remainder 1 when divided by 55. So that's why the pattern occurs. Okay. So yeah, if you only know perfect shuffle, so this is the logic for perfect shuffle, but yeah, it's too difficult. I believe it's too difficult for you. So RMO don't have that difficult question. Yeah. Will RMO give out past year questions? Yeah, we have already shared past year questions for months, maybe. Yeah, the link, we share the 2023 to 20, at least the 2015, right? So this recent year question, we already shared in the group. You can find in the group the past year questions and answers. Perfect shuffle be tested in RMO? I don't think so. I don't think so. It's too difficult. So, actually, maybe perfect shuffle will occur in Chinese competitions because, right, so this year in Chinese New Year's mainland, the 春节联欢晚会, so there is a magic show about perfect shuffle. So maybe a question in China, but not in Singapore, I believe. So I quote that question just because, right, there is something in China, but not in Singapore. So don't mind. So if you really care, so just remember the pattern for perfect shuffle for 54 card is 20. No. Any other questions? Yeah, so there are some kind of trick to get rid of C. Yeah, so like the RMO one, right? So actually there's no C. But if it's 4, 5, and 6, if we RMO questions for this repeat previous year's questions, of course. So you would see that, so each year, so they will repeat so each year at least 10 of the question. Oh no, not 10, 12 of the questions occurs already in the past year questions. So quite a lot is repeating. So that is why I emphasize you to finish all the past 5-year questions. Not only the first round, maybe the second round as well. So there are some cases that last year is in the second round and next year is in the first round. So please finish all the past 5-year first round and second round questions. And also, yeah, maybe if you have time, you can review all the SMOPS questions because RMO and the SMOPS, they borrow questions with each other. So around 12 questions, you can find the exactly same question as before. So what do I do if you get 2 possible answers in RMO? Choose a random one. So, yeah. So if you don't know how to decide with the 2, then you are desperate, you just choose a random one. RMO is easier than APM PS. I don't know. I think they are of the same difficulty, but RMO is MCQ. So as I mentioned, MCQ, there are skills for you to get a higher score. So you can achieve a higher skill than your ability. SMOPS or APM or PS, they're the same thing. They're the same thing. They're the same thing. It's called Singapore and Asian Pacific Mathematical Olympiad, right? So Singapore for S, Asian Pacific for AP, they're the same thing. Though that in Singapore, we like to call it SMOPS. People call. No, maybe. What if you follow my word? So you just look at the last digit or first digit of your question. So if it's in the odd sequence like A, C, E, G, right? So you choose the former one. If it's B, D, what's after D? B, D, F, H, right? BDFH, then you choose the second one. You don't flip a coin. You are not allowed to bring a coin in the computer room, I believe. Just guess random. And also, yeah, if you still struggle on it, there's another skill. So each year, I've said that the choices are very average. So you will see that each year there will be 4 E's on average, right? So actually it's already around 4A, 4B, 4C, and 4D. So maybe you can depend on your other answers. So if there is only very few A or B, right? Maybe there are only very few A's, you can try to choose A. Yeah, something like that. But never mind. So this are all the tricks. Tricks won't help you a lot. You did your round 2 paper. Then maybe round 1. Yeah, maybe just finish all the questions in round 1. And if you have time, so tomorrow, try to do the last year paper in the round 2 in the 2022 and 2023. The last 2 years will be okay. You will not have time to do last 5 years, I believe. Right. Okay, anything? So I wonder, so why many of you just struggle on the skills of MCQs? MCQs, this is when you are desperate, you will find a way to get a closer answer. Yeah, round 2, there are no MCQs. Round 2, they are all short answer and essays. So yeah, round 2 is not. So round 2 is more difficult than round 1. Question type is similar, but round 2 is more difficult. Round 2 is more difficult. For the pattern of Fermat theorem, when you say 20, you mean that like to be n to the power of 20. Yeah. So for any, so when I mention 20 is about the 100, right? So for any number, so actually is that the logic is something like, I should write more clearer, is that so for any number when divided by 100, there is n to the power of 1. N to the power of 21 when divided by 100. So that's what I mean, the pattern is 20. Yeah, this is what I mean by the pattern is 20. Because, right, so this is not the Fermat theorem, this is about the Euler theorem, because 100 is 4 times 25. And the pattern for 4 is 2. Pattern for 25 is 20. So the common pattern is 20. Yeah. So that is why, yeah, according to the Fermat theorem. And the perfect shuffle is also based on the Fermat theorem. So because it's 55, so 11 pattern is 10, 5 pattern is 4. LCM 20. That's not the Fermat theorem. This is Euler theorem. Fermat theorem only works for prime numbers. And 4 and 25, they're not prime numbers. Okay, any other questions? If not, then we can end today. If any question, you can PM me, right? Or just ask in the WhatsApp group or WeChat group. Yeah, I will be here. Okay, maybe enough today. Then bye-bye.